Good morning, everyone. You're watching me, but we're all participating in this three-ring circus called the Disappointed Cat Morning Show. I'm your host, Andy Hall, but you already know that, right? Let's start with something funny. Maybe I don't think it. I think it's more funny than sad, and there's some truth to this little bit. Let's take a look at it.
Well, I went off to college and I got a degree in a subject that doesn't really fascinate me, but it's in a relatively lucrative industry. Oh yeah, at an in-state public university, got a lot of scholarships, so it was almost free and a whole lot cheaper than trying to chase my dreams. 'Cause I played it safe. Job that I kinda hate, but it pays the bills and gives me a little bit to save. Now I'm doing okay, just okay. Fuck.
Oh, yeah. Well, you could have a major in college that you really don't like a whole lot and then have a job that you hate. Or you could have a major in college that you really love and then you could still have a job that you hate. Such is life, right? Such is life. Hello, everyone in the chat. Woolly Ignorant Tobin, Templeman, Derek Cruz. I have to tell you, when I write fiction, I think I'm going to have to use some of these last names, like Templeman. That's just too good a last name not to use. Brainbug, good morning. Blazing up, I hope. Then Simply Secular, all the way over on the West Coast. And Blazing, you are here on time, sir. You are here on time. And Jess M, hello. I hope everyone's weekend went okay. I did a whole bunch of things. I didn't do the 10:30 show last night because I streamed I was on somebody else's stream. I was on the Free Thought Profit stream, their podcast, their YouTube channel, and I'm getting ahead of myself, but we talked about the Atheists Alliance International beef against the International Alliance of Atheists. Please put every Monty Python related joke about splitters in the chat, please. But yes, the AAI versus the IAA beef. I believe I put a link in the description below. It was about a conversation we had for about an hour and 45 minutes. And I learned a lot about the email breach and about inappropriate actions done by a variety of different parties. So if you really want to get into the nooks and crannies of this AAI versus IAA, who's the real splitter, the Judean People's Front or the People's Front of Judea, there's a link in the description to check it out. My doctorate in basket weaving has served me well. Samuel Gray, I'm glad to hear it. To tell you the truth, I feel like I work in my field. I have an undergraduate degree in psychology and I do comedy. So I feel like that works quite well for me, to tell you the truth, having a psychology background. And what side sells otters and lizard tongues? I don't know. I don't know them. I haven't looked at their online stores. But yeah, I have a psychology degree. I do comedy, and I actually work with people who when I was working at a job before the COVID-19 crisis, I was working in my field. Oh, that's what I'm doing, Robert X. I'm sorry. Yep, I do that. Sometimes I stream during working hours. Guilty as charged, but I hear that you can see videos after they're live streamed. That's what I've heard. My resume is mostly populated by the word self-professed. Mine is becoming more and more self-employed. self-employed. But the thing is, as I start looking for jobs, what I don't want employers, respectable employers, to know is what I do here. Actually, it's, I guess we're just going to talk about this. I talked with my sister. What's a resume exactly, Sammy? You have an MSW at the end of the line, at the end of your name. You must have some kind of advanced degree in social work, sir. That's what I'm guessing right there. But I was talking with my sister. Now, for those of you who don't know, I'm adopted, and I've just gotten in contact, or they just got in contact with me, my birth family. And so we're still kind of easing ourselves into this relationship. And I haven't come out of the closet just yet, because there's so much in the closet to come out. But I'm happy to report that I am making steady gains in how comfortable I feel about discussing my online life and my personal life with my sister. And so the next phone conversation we have, I believe, I'm just going to let it out about the comedy, the atheism, the advocacy, all that stuff. And we're going to let it, I feel like I'm in a secure enough. The sister-brother relationship, we are secure enough that we can have this kind of conversation. Oh, Robert, I mean, it isn't the same. And I know that watching a live stream as I'm talking, it's like watching James Henry. What's up? It's a live stream is like a live comedy show, right? And not in a large theater, but in a small club, because in the club, the person communicates with people in the audience, and they bounce off ideas, and there's interaction, and seeing that, yeah, it's entertaining, but it's not the same thing. James Henry was with Neil the 604 Atheist, myself, and Seamus from the Free Thought Prophet on Saturday doing Atheists Drinking Out Loud. Now, I know that show is not the same watching it, because there's something magical about me drinking, to tell you the truth. I might be biased in that, but I had a lot of fun just talking and drinking and sharing some jokes with friends on last Saturday at 5 p.m. Eastern. Thanks, James Henry. I'm glad that you liked it. I had a good time too. But I don't think I've ever had a bad time doing Atheists Drinking Out Loud. We do it the last Saturday of every month. And there's always a special guest that drops in on us. And Neil the 604 Atheist has a guest who's dropping in at the end of March. I'm not really sure who it is, but I know he has a person, and he is going to be, or they are going to be, our special guest at Atheists Drinking Out Loud at the end of March, last Saturday. I just wanted to touch on this because I've been somewhat successful on the blog over the last month. I was looking at my numbers, and I've gotten over a quarter of a million hits on my blog. And as you well know, I write satirical pieces. That people have difficulty. Some people have difficulty recognizing as satire. And in fact, one of my pieces just got on Snopes, back on the 27th, a couple of days ago. And it is my satirical piece about Marjorie Taylor Greene pushing an anti-witchcraft law, an anti-witchcraft bill in Congress. And, it was as satire. It reveals the truth in the comedy about what kind of person Marjorie Taylor Greene is and who the Republicans are at this particular point in time. Hey, Dr. Osiris, how you doing? So I'm just wondering, how do you, I mean, as against to how we should, but how do you personally fact check an article? For me, I'm always, when I think something's too good to be true, when I read the snippet of the headline that it seems too good to be true, and it's there to create an emotional response. So when the title of the article is there to really create a large emotional response, and it seems to be tailor-made for me personally, that's when I think to myself, this can't be true. The other part of it is that, oh my God, this might be true. And just to let you know, I've talked with some people who work in satire, the work over at the Onion, and there's actually conventions for people, who do comedy. And I was talking with him a couple of years ago now that he too does the same thing that I do. That when we write our titles for our satirical pieces, we count out the number of words that we use. So it's usually 8 or less, and there's all kinds of deep structure to comedy, right? I'm going to sound like a wanker right now, but yeah. So for me, it is this article designed to create a rage response? And if it is, then it's more than I'm going to be skeptical about it. And that's like the entry. There are other steps, of course, that I use to fact check articles, but that's really the top tier right there. I'm unfamiliar with the term facts. Are you sure you're not here in the United States of America blazing? Are you sure you're not here? Because this is more of a place without facts. And actually, one of the stories we're going to talk about in terms of Texas and energy, I know we're going to be talking about Texas and energy, has to do with the adulteration of facts, the watering down of facts and policy here. Oh, Gen Xers, yeah. Hey, we shouldn't be telling people that Gen Xers exist, Samuel, to tell you the truth. Because there's so much beef going on between millennials and boomers and Zers and boomers. A lot of the times, I'm a Gen X in the middle of Gen X, and I feel pretty happy that people just completely forget about crapping on my generation, and I'm pretty happy about that. I insist on facts in my news. Is that how you pronounce it? News? Maybe the new is more. I'm just trying to fit in, huh? Well, that's what it is, James Henry. American facts do have a tendency of just being about what makes you feel good. Does this make you feel good? Then it has to be a fact, right? And of course, what I do is that once I actually click on, if there is a article that seems to be not based in fact, I'll just Google it and see if it's on one of the respectable news sites, whether it's on BBC, The Guardian, CNN. I'll check Reason magazine. Reason is a libertarian, big L libertarian magazine, but that's where I get some of my conservative news, or big L libertarian news, though I'm not a big L libertarian. So yeah. Why are there so many unhappy kitties? Skeptical, disappointed. It's the world that we live in, I think. Disappointed cats. And of course, one of the things too is that you got to click the links, right? You gotta click the links. Imaginary God is here. Oh, hey, there you go. Truthiness example. Exactly. You got to click the links, because sometimes the links will tell you directly that a piece is satirical, or it'll bring you to some bunk site. So I just thought I would talk about that for a couple of minutes, because like I said, one of my pieces just went on Snopes, and it's like, well, it's just to review exactly how at least I look at satirical pieces, or how I fact check, how I personally go about doing it. I was wondering if you guys had any different methods. 1977, I think you're still a millennial. No, you are probably an Xer. Dr. Osiris, my favorite DC hero of all times. All right. Let's go to what are the stories? What are the stories we're covering today? Trump, you may not. Come on, CPAC, right? Over the weekend, we have to at least spend a little bit of time talking about that guy. How the natural gas company in Austin is we'll talk about the fiasco in Austin in a couple of minutes. Let's see. Andrew Cuomo. We're going to just touch on that. I'm going to share a video, and then of course we're going to talk about the judge who and this divorce and religious freedom, and how this man was in a marriage that he didn't want to be in for years and years and years. And his wife said, basically, if you divorce me, it goes against my religious freedom. I wish I was making this up, everyone. I wish I was making this up, but I'm not. I am not. Well, for my formula for writing prose, I definitely have a formula for that. Yeah. Trump did not disappoint. He did not. All right. So let's. You saw the whole speech. Yeah, I didn't see the whole speech. I couldn't do that. Vesta. Now get off my lawn. Indeed. All right. Let's talk about some comedy. Let's do some funny stuff here. We'll go over a couple of memes before we get into the talking about CPAC. I have a very nice picture taken of the crowd at CPAC that I thought I'd share. They're clowns. They don't look like they're happy. And this guy back there in the second row with the red hat and the blue hair, he looks kind of like a scary clown. But aren't all the clowns at CPAC scary clowns? Aren't they all scary clowns at some point? Okay. You probably have all seen the golden statue of Trump, right? At this point, it was flooding the internet. There is a golden statue of Trump in what, red, white, and blue shorts, sandals. And you can make all, I mean, it was so silly. It's like, it's really on the nose. It's really on the nose about drawing comparisons between the golden calf and the golden Trump, right? And how evangelicals, would be kneeling at the golden calf if that ever happened, which it never did. But here's once again, a little photoshopped image of prominent evangelicals. And there you have Paula White putting on hands. And of course, originally that was the President Trump there, but this is Goldie. I'm calling the statue Goldie. It's not very creative, but I'm calling it Goldie, about how the evangelicals are kneeling, praying, anointing the golden Trump. See what's going on in the chat. Let's see. All right. Let's go to the next meme, huh? Let's check out what's next. Oh, now this is clever. This has nothing to do with Trump, and this is more of a geeky, funny, nerdy comic to prepare us before we dive into the news cycle. They all ask, what is dark matter and where is dark matter? But nobody asks, how is dark matter? My heart goes out to you, dark matter. I'll ask, how is dark matter? Is there mass? I don't know. Yeah, it's simply secular. It does boggle the brain, right? How is this worshiping Goldie not called blasphemy, but so many other mundane things are? It's all evangelical. It's the evangelical movement, the modern evangelical movement. It's just based on hypocrisy. I have a sneaking suspicion that it's always been based on hypocrisy, to tell you the truth. That's what I think. The comedy writes itself. It does. The comedy and the tragedy writes itself. That's what it does. All right. So what's the first news story? Oh, I guess it's Trump, right? Trump. Story, link below. There's actually two articles I used for this particular rendition, this august retelling of Trump's performance at CPAC. Trump keeps up conspiracy, blasts Biden and GOP foes in first post-presidency speech. Who would have guessed? Who would have guessed that the main thing that Trump did was attack. If I just wish, if I was going to have a wish list, I would take Trump's aggression, his desire just to get out there and mix it up, and just take a spoonful of that and just sprinkle it around the Democrats, right? I would just like that. I'd like to see the Democrats actually behave as if they want it as much as Trump does. On to Trump, on to CPAC. Just a month after leaving office, Donald Trump on Sunday broke with the practices of past former presidents and took on the man who beat him in the 2020 election. During a keynote address that lasted an hour and a half, it began more than an hour late in Orlando, Florida, to the friendly CPAC. Trump blasted Biden's tenure so far. He called it the most disastrous first month of any president in modern history, hitting Biden on many fronts, from immigration to national security to Biden's pandemic response. Most disastrous first month. The former president did not save his ire exclusively for his successor. He maintained the false conspiracy that he actually won the 2020 election, and despite picking 3 of its current members, blasted the U.S. Supreme Court for not siding with him, saying the justices should be ashamed. I'll tell you, if Trump had more time, he would have sent his flying monkeys out against the Supreme Court too. It was just the fact that Pence and the electoral vote was being done on January 6th that he sent the mob after the Capitol building. But if he had a chance, is there any real doubt that he would send a mob after the Supreme Court too? I don't think so. So you ask yourself, and I don't know if you've seen this chart about, it's a poll amongst Republicans about who they would vote for in the Republican primary in 2024. Is it surprising to see Donald Trump leading the pack at 55%, even after he lost an election? Of course, Republicans don't think he's lost an election. But yes, thinking ahead, if the 2024 primary for president in your state were held today among the following candidates, for whom would you vote? Now, the only reason why Ron DeSantis got so high a vote, he got 21%. The only reason why he got so high is because CPAC was in Florida, right? But even though, there's some liberal outlets that are saying, oh, Donald Trump only got 55%. Well, that's all he needs to win. Excuse me. And you look at everyone else, Marco Rubio, Tim Scott, Mike Pence. Yeah, no one who right now holds a candle to the crazy flame that is Donald J. Trump. And how, if we're going to go with this metaphor again, a little bit further with this about this flame, how he's the torchbearer of the GLP, then all the evangelicals are like moths to the flame. That's what they are. But there's more. His last comment suggests that the fight to safeguard U.S. democratic institutions and free elections did not end when he left the White House, but will be a key struggle in the run-up to the next presidential election. As local and state Republicans seek to narrow access to the polls, Trump, who tried to force officials in Georgia to steal the election for him, called on the GOP to outlaw mail-in and early voting to ensure honest elections, and made racially motivated insinuations about irregularities in Detroit and Philadelphia. He demanded citizen tests for ballot access, said voting should only take place on election day, and called for independent judges to be barred from adjudicating election disputes. All right, so as we talked about, I think it was last Friday, about the Virginia law that is being put in place to protect voting rights, which is fantastic. There are many southern states that are trying to restrict voting access because Republicans want to keep their power. And this is just Trump saying that at CPAC. It's just making the drumbeat even louder to restrict voting access for people. Chat, let's see what's going on. Oh, well, if you look at the evolution of the last GQP, I see what you did there. President's the next will be a literal clown. You can make a case. You can make a very strong case that Donald Trump is that clown. He's got the red hair. He's got the weird, makeup on. Yeah. Oh, I don't even know what this is about, James Henry. I don't even know what that's about. I haven't seen the thread of the conversation, but it is my experience that there is no bottom to the well of stupid. As soon as you think that you hit the bottom of the well of stupid, there's like more sub basements underneath that. There's like, once you get to the bottom of the pit of stupid, there's like a whole nother pit underneath that. It's like pits all the way down. Brainbug. It's a cult, a pretty basic cult. Believe what I say, not the evidence it shows. It's a cult, just a cult. You know, that sounds like a song. I think you could put that to music. It's a cult, just a cult. Yeah, you're right about that, James Henry. Biden's approval rate is pretty high right now. And you can make an argument, too, that Trump's approval rate amongst Republicans is high right now. And that can change. The only thing that we can tell right now is that things will change. I mean, talk about inside analysis. Things will change over time. Whether or not Biden can keep up this level of popularity, it's doubtful. Whether or not Trump can keep up this level of popularity is also doubtful. All right. Here we go. From Simply Secular. I agree that it's based on hypocrisy, but Trump removed the shame from the party. And it's anything goes. Yeah, it's a free market of insanity, right? It is the GOP, it is a free market of insanity. And really, the main competition is who can come up with the craziest ideas. Marjorie Taylor Greene, Donald J. Trump, they are definitely trying to monopolize the market of insanity. Oh, Vesta. I thought Christians are not supposed to worship golden statues. You would think so. You would think so. They worship gold. Why not worship golden statues? That's ridiculous. That's what it is. All right. Hey, Iron Charioteer. How are you? I hope you're doing well this morning. It is morning. Wait, let me check. Yes, it's morning. All right. So what's the next? Oh, the next story. What time is it? Oh no. We can do halftime show, right? Because the next story just see, I just cursed. And I can't. I have a vow. I have a vow not to curse during the show. The next story gives me the angers. I think the good idea is for us to do the halftime show before we talk about Austin, Texas, grid, all that stuff. I'm going to take a time, center myself, and do something funny, show you something.
Whenever I go to CVS now, I don't use the self-checkout. I go right up to the cashier with whatever I'm getting. I was there the other day. I was buying butt wipes. I handed them over to the cashier, and she goes, I don't know if you know, but we now carry cucumber-scented butt wipes. And I was like, wow, thank you so much for telling me, because up until this point, I've been wiping with an unscented butt wipe and shoving a cucumber up my ass after. You made my life a lot less painful.
Sorry. For those of you just tuning in right now to come on that was, I think that was a little bit of magic right there, right? Nice, short. Forgive me for the pun. You're in, you're out in terms of the joke, right? I mean, it's very clean joke. That's what they call in the business, right? You understand the joke without having to explain the joke. That was pretty good. Yeah. All I have is cursing. Don't take it away. Oh, you can curse all you want in the chat, Dr. Osiris. It's me. I just want to keep it clean, right? It's morning. It's the evening shows. That's where the cursing. And still, strangely enough, Jenga. There's cursing in Jenga too. My 3 o'clock show. Cheap plug for the 3 o'clock show. All right. So let me tell you a little story. Here in Boston, there is a city that borders Boston called Brookline. My girlfriend and I were looking for a new place to live just before the pandemic happened. Her lease was ending and wanted to move to another place. And as we were looking in the city of Brookline, very liberal city, we found out that Brookline passed a law saying that new construction cannot have natural gas. You can't have natural gas stoves. The place can't be heated by natural gas. That means there's no hot water, fueled by natural gas. And this is for environmental reasons. So Brookline, I feel, made the right choice. And we're going to explore a little bit about this in the story. So that's Brookline, Massachusetts. This story shows how gas companies are fighting environmentalists and fighting municipalities from turning off the gas or switching from a gas-centered type of energy for their towns and cities to something more like renewables or electric. Let's go to this. Links in the description below, everyone. Texas City had a bold new climate plan until a gas company got involved. Who would have thought that? A gas company get involved? Before I get into this too, I just want to say that this is why having a strong city government and a strong state government that can fight off muddied interests is so important. And having an educated population, it's so important. The fossil fuel industry is using the same playbook to fight city climate plans around the country. When the city of Austin drafted a plan to shift away from fossil fuels, the local gas company was fast on the scene to try to scale back the ambition of the effort. Like many cities across the U.S., the rapidly expanding and gentrifying Texas City is looking to shrink its climate footprint. So its initial plan was to virtually eliminate gas use in new buildings by 2030 and existing ones by 2040. Homes and businesses would have to run on electricity and stop using gas for heat, hot water, and stoves. A good goal to have. And enough time in the future to, get ready, to prepare. For some reason, the gas company saw it as an existential threat. Quickly caught the attention of the law caught the attention of the Texas Gas Service. The company drafted line-by-line revisions to weaken the plan, asked customers to oppose it, and escalated its concerns to top city officials. In its suggested edits, the company struck references to electrification and replaced them with decarbonization, a policy that wouldn't rule out gas. It replaced electric vehicles with alternative fuel vehicles, which could run on compressed natural gas. It offered to help, quote unquote, help, to say my quotes in there, to help the city to plant more trees to absorb climate pollution and to explore technologies to pull carbon dioxide out of the air, both of which might help it to keep burning gas. Those proposed revisions were obtained by Floodlight, the Texas Observer, and the San Antonio Report through public records of communications between city officials and the company. Once again, thank my fictitious God, we still have newspapers out there who are willing to do this kind of work and to show us the nefarious interactions between large businesses and companies. The moves so far have proven a success for Texas Gas. The most recently published draft of the climate plan gives the company much more time to sell gas to its existing companies, and it allows it to offset climate emissions instead of eliminating them. The city, however, is revisiting the plan after a backlash to the industry-secured changes. The lobbying in Austin is not complete. It echoes how an electricity and gas company spent hundreds of thousands of dollars scaling back San Antonio's climate ambitions by funding the city's plan writing process, replacing academics with its preferred consultants and writing its own flexible path that would keep it polluting. Yes, replacing academics with your own lackeys. And gas companies are working their magic in state legislatures too. I just want to show you this map before we go back to the words. These are the states. Let me show you this little. Lawmakers in 12 states are proposing to prohibit local governments from banning gas hookups. It's no surprise that they are mostly red state. Sorry, Pennsylvania, you're kind of reddish, purplish. But most of these, it's no surprise that Oklahoma has already enacted that kind of, and Louisiana, oh my fictitious God. If you know anything about Louisiana, the entire state is in the pockets of the fossil fuel industry. It's ridiculous. And of course, there's Tennessee and Arizona too, but there's all these other states, these proposals of preventing cities, local municipalities from banning the use of gas in their areas. It's all due to the fossil fuel industry. Gas is cheap, and affordability is a major concern in Austin, where families and people of color continue to get priced out of the fast-growing city. But even so, Austinites don't necessarily want gas, said Chelsea Gomez, a community ambassador who consulted on the city plan. When you talk to people, they don't want natural gas as a middleman to a sustainable future. They want solar panels to be affordable for them, said Gomez. People want better options. Burning gas indoors. Now, this is interesting, and I wasn't really aware of this. I'm going to show you. I'm not afraid to share that when I'm ignorant on a particular topic. And ignorant, as you all know, is just not knowing. It's only stupidity when you know you don't know and don't care, or violently, resist it. But let's talk about this. Burning gas indoors exposes people to dangerous pollutants that are linked with heart attacks, respiratory disease, and asthma. One study found that children in homes with gas stoves were 42% more likely to have asthma than children in homes with electric stoves. Sure, most of us like cooking better. Most of us prefer gas stoves when you're cooking, right? You have more control, you can see the heat, whatever, however you want to call it. But the fact is, you're more likely to have asthma. Children are more likely to have asthma with homes with electric stoves. And the last bit here, the fossil fuel also has clear climate impacts. In Texas, the number of days that are 100 degrees or hotter have more than doubled in the last 40 years and could double again by 2036, according to a study from the Texas state climatologist. Extreme rainfall and urban flooding are increasing. Hurricanes are getting more and more intense, and the Gulf of Mexico is rising. Droughts and wildfires are becoming more severe. Texas, they're going to lose like a ton of coastline. People won't, and this isn't me just saying, oh, climate crisis. This is, this is just accepted science at this point. People will not be able to farm as much as they farm in Texas because that belt, the belt of temperature, of rainfall that is conducive to farming, is moving northward into Canada. Texas is going to be losing a bunch of shoreline where major cities are placed. And the idea that they don't do something, and at this point, unfortunately, we have to do something radical to change things so we are not impacted significantly. And the idea that these gas companies are just trying to stonewall these changes, it's disgusting. Effing disgusting. Chat. Oh, here we go. Phil Lister. There's some people I just like, I don't even read their comments first before I click on to share it with you guys because they're solid people who know what's going on. A Norwegian company probably bought forest in Colombia as an offsetting protocol. 5 years later, a company director went off to inspect the forest they secured. It was a palm oil farm, no trees. Oh, there always has to be regulation. Someone always has to be watching the watchmen. Simply secular. We used to say, Florida man does something ridiculously life-threatening, but now we say, meanwhile in Texas. Indeed. Oh, I got a gas stove. To tell you the truth, we have a gas stove too, Dr. Mordecai. What I'm surprised, the thing is like, even though we are living in a very progressive area, they're just not as much on top of this fossil fuel gas energy issue as the two cities over, Brookline. And which is, let's see, here we go, brain bug. Andy, can you explain to us the difference between socialism and Republican socialism? Anyone who's taken any kind of economics class understand that basically in an unregulated market, what happens is that the market gets smaller and smaller. right? Not the market, but those who are the businesses within the market, right? So there might be like 10 airlines at a certain point, but in an unregulated market, those airlines will get smaller and smaller and smaller. So there'll be maybe 3 major airlines or 4 major airlines, and then there'll be some kind of alliance made between these companies to set rates and to make sure that they all get as much profit as they can from their customers. So that's what happens when you have an unregulated market. It basically condenses over time. Thank you, microeconomics class from 1992. Yeah, Republicans are just interested in deregulating businesses, and that over time will just create a semi-monopoly of certain large companies. Small mom and pop businesses will disappear if Republicans and this crony capitalism allowed to go unchecked. I got some free gas for us. Thank you. Thank you. So what else we got here in the chat? See, I scroll back up to see the butt wipes comments, and then I have to go back down. So, hey. All right. Yeah, right. Gas. Yeah, a lot of us do have gas stoves. Hopefully they'll be phased out over time. Oh, this is true. This is true. A lot of our CO2 problems, a lot of our greenhouse gases are caused by concrete, which can be fixed too. These are all solvable solutions, but it's just a lack of political will. That's what it boils down to here. We know what needs to be done. Oh my God, we could just talk about the $15 an hour minimum wage that isn't going to get through because the Biden administration, I don't even have this as a story on the freaking list today, but we could just talk about the $15 an hour issue about we know what needs to be done. There's just a lack to do it. There's just a lack of will to do it. So as many of you know, the $15 an hour part of the COVID-19 relief bill was taken out because the Senate parliamentarian said that you can't do that. And of course, their ruling can be overruled. Biden could put in a new parliamentarian if he wanted to, but they're choosing not to. Now you can make an argument that even if the parliamentarian said the $15 an hour was okay to put in the COVID-19 relief bill, then you'd still have senators like Manchin voting against it. Well, you could pay off Manchin. You could just pay him off. Manchin's a politician just like anyone else. Just figure out a way to pay him off and he'll vote for it. There is a way of working around it. You just have to try. You just have to push hard. Like I said, to tell you the truth, I wouldn't mind taking some of Trump's aggression and just sprinkling it amongst Democrats just to make them want it more. All right, what's the next story? That was my rant about the Senate parliamentarian, the $15 an hour minimum wage hike here in the States. All right, next story. I don't even know what it is. Oh, all right, this is from Hemant Mehta from the Friendly Atheist. Oh my, this is a real story. Judge tosses lawsuit saying divorce violates Christian woman's religious freedom. If any of you want to know what a Christian theocracy would look like, what kind of court battles would be, what would happen is that if you got married, you may not be able to get divorced because of religious freedom of your partner. Let's take a look at this tale. Everyone needs to congratulate Henry King for finally freeing himself from a wife he's tried to leave for nearly 3 decades. In 1993, he first filed for divorce from Lynn King, citing, quote, cruel and inhumane treatment, unquote. Because a judge said there wasn't enough evidence of that, the divorce didn't go through. Now, you might think that trying to get a divorce might be a sign this marriage is broken, but they chose to stay married. At least that's what Lynn wanted. Lynn was the one who really wanted to stay married because of Jesus. And those of you who are Christian know that there's only like a handful of reasons why you should be getting divorced. There's like pretty straightforward stuff in the New Testament. Jesus saying there's 2-3 reasons maybe you should be getting divorced. Lynn is a Pentecostal Christian who believes marriage must last until death because those vows are promised before God. Also, she says the Bible forbids divorce. Henry is literally bound to her for life now. Ugh. He tried to divorce her again in 2016, years after the state law changed to allow divorces for couples whose marriages were irretrievably broken for at least 6 months. But Lynn challenged that as well. A legal battle dragged on for a while, but the divorce was finally granted last year. End of story. Lynn then filed a lawsuit against the state of New York, saying that allowing the divorce to go through violated her religious rights because it was forcing her to go against God's wishes. Now a judge has dismissed her claim, saying she doesn't have standing. He said there's no constitutional right to remain married, and that her religious marriage, the spiritual side of things, is separate from her legal marriage, which can absolutely be dissolved. There's more. The judge felt like he had to explain it. Here's the explanation. King contends that she suffered an injury, in fact, in direct harm, because as a devout Christian, the law forced her to live in sin and face great shame, and because it infringes upon her constitutional right to marry. L. King's argument that H. King does not have a constitutional right to divorce misses the point entirely. The issue is not whether there exists a constitutional right to divorce. Rather, it is whether the law infringes upon her constitutional rights, and it does not, because an individual does not have a right to remain married to another adult against his or her will. It sounds like a slavery argument, to tell you the truth. I don't want to compare marriage to slavery. But in this case, between Lynn King and Henry King, she's saying that it's only a hop, skip, and a jump. Now, you think I'm crazy, and you think I'm just like making this weird comparison, but it's true. It's only a hop, skip, and a jump from someone saying that you are bound to me in marriage, whether you like it or not, because of God. And the little skip and a jump is, I own you because it's religious freedom. And it says so in the Bible that I can own you. Little hop, skip, and a jump there. Chat, see what's going on with the chat. Bodily autonomy, there's no such thing as bodily autonomy in the Bible. We are all things. And this is the aspect that makes many religions immoral at its very core. At their very core is that as soon as you treat people as things go sideways. There isn't morality there. There's no compassion there because you're treating people as a thing. God treats you as things. You don't have rights. You are a property of God, right? So there's no bodily autonomy. There's no such thing as rights, actually, under Christianity or under many of the other religions. And once you turn people into things, then all the horribleness of the world occurs, right? It's I want to be my man's property, as God says. Yeah, that's wrong. That's just, hey, Rage. I saw that you did a stream the other day. Oh, geez, dude. My heart goes out to Rage. Everyone knows. I think people know. It's no secret that Rage caught COVID. He has pre-existing medical issues. So my heart goes out to you, Rage. I hope the best for you, brother. I believe John Peterson is still doing streams on Rage's channel from 10:30 to 11:30. You should all check it out. But yeah, I wish you the best, Rage. Wish you the best. John is streaming. Yeah. Let's see what else in the chat. A good reason to get divorced is if you are Christian, you would be oh, wow. How about that, huh? That's a good reason. Here we go. Jesus was pretty clear. If you divorce your first wife and took a second one and never had sex with her, that would be adultery and a trip to hell. You're right about that, Rage. You are correct about that. Back to residential gas appliances, simply secular. One of the worst things about residential gas appliances is the leakage of raw natural gas, greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. True enough. True enough. Industrial projects and power generation projects really leak. Yeah. Indeed. I long for the day when religion in public is regarded as derision. Well, that's what I work for. You know, the idea that you have an imaginary friend. Yeah. So, okay, let's talk about Andrew Cuomo. Let's talk about how you should not be acting in the workplace. Andrew Cuomo, come on, Andrew Cuomo. Any man at a certain age knows that there are things you can't say in the workplace, that you just start acting creepy. One of my personal goals, to tell you the truth, is not to be creepy. It's tough because there's so many creeps out there. It is difficult. So let's take a look at Andrew Cuomo and see the shenanigans he's into now.
New York Governor Andrew Cuomo increasingly under fire tonight. A second woman reportedly coming forward accusing him of sexual harassment. Governor Cuomo issuing a statement tonight saying he never meant to offend anyone and his actions may have been misinterpreted as unwanted flirtation. For that, he says he is sorry. Here's ABC's Stephanie Ramos.
Tonight, facing those new sexual harassment allegations, New York Governor Andrew Cuomo giving up some control of the investigation after plans to pick his own investigator. Cuomo backing off, announcing he will ask the Attorney General and the state's chief judge to jointly pick the person to investigate the now 2 sexual harassment accusations against him, to avoid even the perception of a lack of independence or inference of politics.
It's really concerning. You know, I think the one issue was out there, and then the fact that we have a second one, I think it requires that it be looked into.
The move comes after the New York Times published accusations made by 25-year-old former aide Charlotte Bennett. She reportedly says Cuomo asked her questions that were sexual in nature last spring, including whether she ever had sex with older men. According to the paper, Bennett reported the encounter to Cuomo's chief of staff and told her parents and friends about it at the time. One friend asking if Cuomo had been physical. Bennett reportedly texting back, "No, but it was like the most explicit it could be." Cuomo says he never made advances toward Miss Bennett, nor did I ever intend to act in any way that was inappropriate, and I was trying to be a mentor to her. Bennett's accusations coming the same week as another former aide, Lindsay Boylet, who detailed allegations of sexual harassment, including an unwanted kiss, something Cuomo denied in December.
It's just not true.
And the governor's coronavirus task force is under federal investigation for the alleged underreporting of deaths in nursing homes during the early days of the pandemic. And when Governor Cuomo released a statement saying, quote, "Some of the things I have said have been misinterpreted as an unwanted flirtation. To the extent anyone felt that way, he says, I am truly sorry." The governor emphasizing that he never inappropriately touched anyone. He says these are allegations New Yorkers deserve answers to. Whit.
All right, Stephanie Ramos with those late details. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos.
Oh, it just seems so consistent, as Rage was pointing out. Misinterpreted. I was trying to mentor her. You know, just saying that you want to mentor her is creepy, to tell you the truth. It's just creepy. It's just creepy. John Hudson, how you doing? How you doing, John Hudson? And the idea that Cuomo wanted to put on his own person, he wanted to have his person investigate him. That alone it's just crazy. And you know, in a functioning company, he would be dragged into HR, and there would be an action plan about his behavior, depending on the company that you work for, of course. Indeed, blazing. If you're not sorry, why, if you didn't do anything, why say sorry? Yeah, well, you know, definitely just creeping, just very creepy, and it's not helping him out whatsoever. It's not helping out the situation of of his political career. And there's a saying amongst preachers. I don't know if any of you know that preachers, and you can extrapolate this to men in power in general. You're going to get caught by one of three things. You got gold, glory, girls. Those are the three G's that men in power fall victim to. Those are the temptations. And Wild Eden, how you doing? Yeah. I was at the Mother's Church here. The Christian Scientists, they do tours of the Mother Church. Of course, I'm an atheist, but the church is beautiful. It's beautiful dome on drum construction. And during the last tour I went with my girlfriend and my kid, the tour guide mentioned specifically, Mary Baker Eddy founded our religion, and she didn't do it because she needed to get her genitals up in the lather. She didn't do anything untoward or want to do it, get into the faith or create the faith just so that she could bang people. Unlike many other, the insinuation, of course, was that a lot of guys get into positions of power just to misbehave with their genitals. And there's some truth to that. There's some truth to that. Oh, you got to go outside to the real world, Dr. Osiris? Yeah. For me, in terms of, I know we were talking about smoking in the chat there, about our getting our THC fix versus smoking. I found for myself that edibles do the job just as well, if not better, than smoking. Yeah, that's just me. That is my own personal preference there. Wild Eden. All right, what do we do? It's hard to believe we're closing down on an hour. I feel like I've been a bit more ranty than usual this morning. I don't know. Let's take another breath. Let's do something funny. Let's do something to put a smile on our faces before we jet out into the world. Let's take a look. What are we gonna?
So there's a house in my neighborhood that has a dog named Potato, and they have the sign up there in the yard.
He's so pretty.
Potato.
Oh, you good potato? Yeah. A corgi is always guaranteed to put a smile on my face, at least. And it seems, I took a look at the sign, and Potato actually has a bell, a little buzzer. It can ring when it wants to go outside. It's great. Edibles make you drowsy, Brain Buck? Yeah. Well, that's the problem. That's the problem with me, is that one of my many problems, mind you, is that my struggle is to stay awake. And so that's why caffeine is my drug of choice. But of course, I do like the alcohol too. I do like the alcohol. Oh yeah, James Henry, I hear you. That's a good idea, Rach. That's a good idea. I'll say this, is that I had a girlfriend who did Chantix, the drug. I mean, it was effective. Chantix is effective, but it did mess her brain up. It did give her odd thoughts, odd behaviors, made her do some odd behaviors, and not the good behaviors either, not the good ones. But yeah, she tried Chantix, and it created like effects with her. Well, it looks like you're on the right path, brother. So that's great. Oh yeah, Dr. Osiris. Well, did you see my whole, I think I spent about 10 minutes last week talking about me having a white bread hangover, right? A white bread hangover. This is what happens when you get older, everyone. It's like and you're off white bread under normal circumstances. And then you just like gorge with white bread, and then the next morning you're like, In fact, I would rather have a hangover with alcohol than gorging myself with white bread. That was a horrible feeling. I got to be on the trial for Chantix. Interesting. And we got the sign-up sheets. That's good. So how did you find it, Brain Bug? Because that's interesting. I'm wondering what they experience or what you experience while on Chantix. Like I said, I only have an N of one. Only one of my friends was on Chantix, and it kind of messed up her head. But I've seen like a few people go on regular everyday medication, and it just messes. The side effects are weird. So even if you're using anything like Advil, what Chantix? Chantix is a medication that helps people stop smoking. Basically, it helps get you off of smoking, and it can be very effective. But oh my fictitious God, brain bug! Chantix made me walk and sleep drive. Wow, but it was reformulated after that. All right, that's interesting. Yeah. So, all right, everyone, I think, what did we go over for stories? I don't know. I did a couple of rants about the Senate parliamentarian, about gas companies, Trump, the judge, and the Pentecostal woman who wanted to keep her husband married because of religious freedom. That's nutty. And of course, Andrew Cuomo showing us all how to be creepy in the workplace. If you're a man of a certain age, don't be talking to younger women about whether or not they are into having intercourse with men, older men. I don't even know why. Yeah, that's smart rage. Yeah, there are stories about Chantix in general. Well, that's interesting, Jess M. Wellbutrin made me quit cigarettes. Cool. All right, everyone. I think that's the show. I'm going to be doing Jenga at 3 o'clock, just hanging out, talking with you all, and sharing laughs, sharing stories, sharing tumbling blocks, and doing this whole thing again tomorrow at 9 a.m. Maybe I'll make a comedy short sometime between now and then. It all matters what my schedule is. I still got to do something on my blog today. Laughing in Disbelief, my blog. Hey, on Pathos. You can check that out. Links are down there. If you need to see or check out the stories of anything we just covered, links are in the description as always. Brain bug. That's an odd question, my friend. All right, everyone. Be strong. Take care. Oh, epic pose? Oh, with a coffee cup, I guess. Epic pose.